Hey, hey, beautiful people. It is 9:07 on February the 4th, 2015. I'm back at the family farm, Heart of Turtle Island in Memphis, and as I was coming through yesterday from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, I'm hauling all my tools and my stuff from the Gulf Coast up to here, and it's all happened perfectly. When I first got to Tennessee, October 23rd, fuel prices were like $2.75 a gallon, and even higher up here. It was just less than $3 a gallon in a lot of places. And I was thinking, man, it's going to cost me a fortune to move all my tools and my gear from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I downsized years ago, back in 2009, when I quit doing construction and mechanicking, and machining and all the stuff that I was doing, and I had downsized a whole lot of what I had then in 2009, and I put my machines into storage and some into, all that was needed for rebuilding my family home went over there into a tool shed. And I was going, oh my God, that's gonna take me forever just to load it up. So renting a U-Haul could have been a huge expense, not to mention the fuel prices, because a round trip from the Mississippi Gulf Coast to where I am is just less than 1,000 miles. And in December of 2014, fuel prices started going down. And so by January, I started realizing it's time to move my gear. It's going to be just about as low as it could get, and the fuel prices had dropped by $1 a gallon. So it was literally costing me a third to 50% of what, in some places, depending on where I got my gas, of what it would have cost before. And so anyway, yesterday I got into town, and I was driving with my iron workers and a lot of other heavy mechanicking tools, my engine hoists and stuff like that. And I was severely overloaded as usual. I always run my tools to the max and then take my time to get there. So it's, not necessarily the safest way of doing things, but I'm always on a cutting edge. So anyway, I got into Memphis yesterday, and both James Brown and my mother wanted me to call them, and I use Skype to call, since I don't have cell phones and I don't deal with cell phone technology right now. Just because of the expense, in most of the places I go, you don't have good signal. It's just like right here, even with my T-Mobile back then, I didn't have signal here. So, was it good as it do be? This, even on Hopi land, I was in Hopi land for a long time, and for 6 months I didn't have signal there. So what's the point of having a cell phone? So I use Skype. And I got into town yesterday, and I was calling my mother to let her know I had arrived and I was safe and I wasn't broken down someplace on the road. And I called James Brown to let him know I was here and set up for moving the gear out today. And I saw several different messages on my Skype coming in from and from other messages saying, "Where are you and what are you doing?" Well, I'm moving very fast, trying to get all the tools and the gear that we need for this project at Heart of Turtle Island from the Gulf Coast up here. And I'm running a trip at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, in getting those tools up here. And just in this past trip, I've been gone. It was last Friday. It's 9/11 on 2/4/15. I took off last Friday to go to the coast, and just in that week, this is what day is today? I don't even know where I am. I'm so timeless unless I have this computer. It's Wednesday, February 4th, and So from Friday to Wednesday, fuel prices have gone up 30 cents a gallon. And in a 1,000-mile round trip, that's another tank of gas. So people are asking me, where are you? What happened to you? I'm moving fast, and I'm moving some heavy equipment that should be moved with forklifts and stuff, and I'm doing it by hand. I'm doing it with jacks and cinder blocks and 6x6s and like my old ways of moving houses. Same thing. I'm using house mover tools to move equipment by hand rather than heavy equipment. So anyway, I got my 36-inch bench lathe into James's truck and back that into the one Connex that we have had arrive on site since my last video. We didn't get both of them in here because it rained and the driver was really scared and upset that he could get stuck back here, and that was a pretty big issue for him. And you know, it was one of those where he was asking me if I'd pay for the tow if he got stuck, and I was like, only if I'm driving, because I'm not going to get stuck, but I'll guarantee my tow. I think I pushed some buttons and challenged him a little bit, because, you know, I used to have my CDL and was a truck driver too. So I've done a lot of things in this life that a lot of people don't know about me. Anyway, I'm sitting here inside the camper that James had provided, and some persons have asked about how I'm generating power in my electrical. And I do have a generator outside, and James has got a much larger generator capable of running welders and things like that. But I'm getting ready to go completely off grid. So what we have done is started looking at the various batteries and the expenses over the amp hours of those batteries. And Interstate Battery happens to have a facility right here in Memphis where they manufacture deep cycle high amp hour batteries, and James and I have been down and spoken with them, and rather than getting all these made for solar batteries that are literally, you know, for a couple hundred amp hour battery could be $2,000, we are ending up with these deep cycle batteries. Yeah, I'll put one right here, show you. These deep cycle batteries, which are, that says it's 110 amp hours, and these we are having from Interstate Battery. They're $65 a piece. No, I take that back. That was the original one that I got, was $65 a piece, and they said no, they've got a better one, and it's like $100. It's 90 something, and right at 100, 102 or something when we have tax. And this one battery is able to run my laptop, where I can watch videos and movies and stuff that I use YouTube Downloader to get when I'm at James's, to download all my friends' newest videos out there, and I can come out here in the middle of the woods and watch them. And it works out pretty good. And it also, you know, these are my LEDs. You know, many people know that I had LED bulbs wholesale, and that's what I was doing since Katrina, is helping to bring LEDs used in AC or alternating current applications into existence, in doing research and development with Chinese factories. In doing that, I originally was working on building them for myself after Hurricane Katrina, because every time we lost power for almost 2 months at my family home, and they had to do a lot of work to get all that set back up. And during that time, we were running generators, and if I ran incandescent light bulbs, I had to choose between running an air conditioner or a refrigerator or were those incandescent light bulbs, and if I was trying to downsize my current to the compact fluorescence in the generator I had at that time was popping them. So, and I was realizing, and it was the surge that was popping them, and I was realizing that, you know, I needed to be looking at LEDs, so I started taking apart incandescent light bulbs and using resistors and LEDs, and started doing my tests on LEDs, and then started realizing I could build LED bulbs quite easily and use them for residential application. Screw them into the E26 bulbs or sockets, and I could do that. But to build them on a large scale was going to be a problem. And I used to run factories in China in the 1990s and lived in China for several years, and still had an office until 2009 in Beihai, China. And so I contacted Ching, and I was like, hey brother, and he was my old interpreter there in the early 90s, and my office manager until, you know, till that office closed, and I wasn't messing with China so much anymore. But he hooked me up through the Chinese consulate with 2 different companies in 2005, late 2005, that was working on LED bulbs and for AC applications, and we couldn't find any other factories that were working on it at that time. A lot of them say that they have been working on it for a lot longer now, which you can see the generations of the bulbs coming out and tell, you know, what they're using. You can tell, you know, how far along they'd been going. Anyway, I started working with them, trying to help develop various types of bulbs, and really the 4-foot fluorescent tube and street lights, because those are the biggest in the United States commercial market that could be replaced and make a huge difference. And so that's where my focus was helping develop those bulbs. And I really wanted to do manufacturing, because manufacturing is what I've been doing all my life. I used to make custom pool cues, throwing darts, ran different factories making things like rod and lawnmowers, and you know, all different types of things, electronics, and anyway, I realized that it was going to be an impossibility for me to keep up with manufacturing LED bulbs when China's government in joint ventures helps out all the factories doing production over there so they could stay at the top of the economy, and the American government's trying to kill the manufacturing here. And I've done videos about that before. But anyway, I started working with them on research and development of LED bulbs, and realized the best thing for me to do is just give away any thought of making money on it to bring it into market, and to get it online and get it out to humanity. And so I did that until I finally packed up all my gear that I'm bringing up here and I hit the road back in 2010, just after the Gulf oil spill that unfolded right in my front yard. Biblical bottomless pit, the Hopi Seventh Son. Anyway, I'm up here now testing batteries, and these new batteries, I'm actually charging at this particular time in the back of my truck. I used to have hydrogen electrolyzer cells that fractured water into hydrogen and oxygen that I was using along with my gasoline to power my Nissan truck. And I used a 300 amp alternator, had it custom built back when those were starting to come out good, so I could power the electrolyzers to make enough gas to make running water for fuel a possibility. And I made some fantastic electrolyzers, but they were a little bit too energy efficient, too thin of plates, and they were fantastic if you're in a shop, but with those thin plates, they generated too much heat after about an hour, and I was producing steam instead of fracturing the hydrogen and oxygen. And that was just after the economic crash. Just after the economic crash, in September 2009, and with that economic crash, I didn't have the money to continue my research, and that's part of what we're going to be doing here at Heart of Turtle Island, alternative energy research. We've got 25-acre lake out front for hydroelectric power. We've got plenty of solar. We haven't got wind here, but our family house on the Mississippi Gulf Coast for 9 months out of the year, being at a 24-foot bluff above the beach, we've got everything we need to test wind power in our 3D printed wind turbines there. By the way, I brought up my 3D printers yesterday in this last trip. Anyway, as I'm testing out back to my alternator, I've realized that I had to make these last week while I was here. Took a roll of cable, took the connector ends and for positive and negative, and crimped them on, soldered in the connectors, put the heat shrink on, and connecting my battery connectors so that we can bridge in parallel all these batteries that are coming in. You've got how the battery would connect to the alternator, and then these units will go from well, you don't want to put them backwards. These units will go from positive to positive, negative to negative, and I can connect multiple batteries for charging with my 300 amp alternator. And the rate of charge that these have for charging with that 300 amp alternator, I can hook up 10 of them, and in a drive into Memphis and back here, which takes just about an hour, I can charge all 10 batteries with that one alternator in my truck. And that's pretty cool, because with my computer, and if I want to listen to videos or to listen to music, and I've got the speakers set up and I've got all the LED bulbs, I can get about 3 days out of one single battery, and that's really cool. So, and we're getting ready to start going into the aquaponics and permaculture, and we're going to have to start growing our seedlings that we're going to be later putting out about 3 months before they actually go into the ground. The winters here in Tennessee are not conducive. Just like this year, we haven't had the sunlight to make a good greenhouse for starter plants, so we're going to have to add light, and I've got all the LED bulbs we need to do that. So, all of this is coming in hand to hand, and anyway, I'm sitting in the trailer right now that James, the camper that James had provided. This is a little hunting camper that he had, and had a nice foam mattress in here. I've got a gas stove, has got shower and everything hooked up, but we're not connected to the water or sewer. And that's one of the next things that we've got to do. Let me turn off this inverter and conserve my power. Although I've got 4 batteries now, I'm going for 10, and that's going to be what we're going to use to do our power system here at Heart of Turtle Island. And I've still got to level out this trailer, and I'm running so fast these days, I haven't taken the time to complete some things. Got to level it out. This is a nice little camper that I don't know if you can see it, because it was getting so cold and getting down to, you know, 0 temperatures. I took bubble packing insulation and put it in all the windows in there, and it makes it at night with my body temperature in there without the heat. If I cut on a generator and I'm running some type of heat source, as soon as I turn it off, it goes out. But my body heat keeps it about 20 degrees warmer in there at night than it is and was in my tent. So anyway, the next part of the projects, once we get everything up here, is to get enough money for a solar jack water pump and to build holding tanks or purchase a holding tank, because we actually have a well, functioning deep water, 230-foot deep well here on site for drinking water, and this is some of the best drinking water I've had, short of the Yukon and Alaska in the wintertime. And can you see that? Yep, that's the well head right there. And a solar jack using either 12-volt batteries, just like I was showing you back there, or solar panels to pump that water up. And we've got to take it to the top of the hill. Way back there, you can see the first Connex that was brought in, that white one. And I'm going to put a water tower on top of there. What I'm going to have to do is shoot grade from there to here and either put a water tower up here where we can gravity level between this tower and that, or I've got to check into solar jack water pump that can handle the 230-foot vertical and another 400 feet horizontal, and see if I can just do it in a single shot and come in with the ditch witch and be able to lay the piping, the PEX line, and at the same time some sewer line, because we also have that my father had built when he had this property. We also have a septic system. Of course, we're going to be using composting toilets in the future for those persons who eat organically. But we do have a septic system that was put in 1989 and was only used by 2 people until 1998. So that should be good enough to last for quite some time. Right over here is going to be the kitchen area, and right here where the water and septic is, we want to do a community toilet system as well as community shower area, and that water will be heated either by wood or solar, and that way we've got the ability for everybody to stay clean out here. That's one of the biggest things with me is staying clean. I can do some massively dirty work, but just like after Hurricane Katrina, first thing that I did is build a shower. We still had water after Katrina and it was squirting out everywhere. And I had to hook up into the landscape and stop the water flow and be able to build a shower, because that was pretty yucky after cleanup of Katrina. Things got kind of messy. And over here behind, you'll see that horseapple tree. That horseapple tree is huge, and I think I've mentioned it in a different video where I want to build this into a hobbit structure that's going to be like a community kitchen, and then right here where the hole is in the ground, I want to build, well, where the sinkholes start up here, have a step down into an underground cellar, and then next to the cellar have an underground walk-in refrigerator, and at the opposite end have a walk-in freezer so we can store our produce here. We've got all kinds more horseapple trees like that one right there, where other structures, houses, buildings, classrooms, say, places where we can give classes or do yoga classes or wood carving or flute making or whatever the heck. We've got so many different little places we can build hobbit structures like that around. It is just amazing. Trish Will, I would love it if you would come down here and be the architect designer of hobbit homes that you are. That would be wonderful for Tinkerbell to come down and do some designing. We found out from, and here's another one, we found out from the building code guys, and these horse apples are just amazingly strong. They used to use them for bows. It's about 3 times the strength of a white oak, and they use them for fence posts and they use them for nails, so using them for houses and hobbit structures is going to be outrageously good because it doesn't rot. And this one right here that's behind me is very straight. So we've got horse apples in all different shapes, ones that can be used for house beams, others that can be used for just really cool structures that we can cob around, add windows and doors to. But what I found from talking to the code inspectors, as long as we're doing tree houses, they have nothing to say about tree houses. If we're doing cob structures out front, kind of like cabins, we've got to present them with a plan, how many we're going to set up on the property, and an architectural engineered, which we already, because of James, have had the Tennessee State architect come out here and start working and looking at the project, and he wants to participate in this. So it's turning out to be really, really cool what all is going on. Last week, James called me while I was on the coast on this last run, and as we were talking, oh man, we got to come out here and start getting these black walnuts planted. See how many there are? They're just everywhere. Black walnut, black walnut, black walnut. Get them planted, because that is gold mine. Oh, on the coast this past weekend, my mother and brother had said wild handcrafted walnuts like this are up to $18 a pound in natural food stores. Our natural food store, and that's wholesale. It's jumped, they said, from $13 a pound last time we purchased in October. And so, you know, we got a gold mine here. We need to expand on it, and those need to get planted and grown with our rapid growth process so that we can start getting them in quick. Well, James had spoken with one of the guys in Memphis that is doing the greenhouses at the public school systems. And with Obama, some food plan, all the schools are being asked to buy locally grown foods, and preferably organic. And James said that they would provide, to the point of even building the greenhouses, 35-foot wide, 120-foot long greenhouses, real long greenhouses, and they could set up 5 or 6 of them on the property as long as we would contract to do the food. I'm not so sure as if I want to do that on this property, but James just purchased the 35 acres across the street here, which is the on-grid side of this, that had been farmed before. And that farm had fertilizers and poisons. It can't go organic there, not for another at least 10 years, maybe a whole lot longer, depending on how much pesticides and stuff that they put into it. But that would be the perfect place to do vertical aquaponics gardening over there on grid, and not be commercially tied to the system and contracted to the system, which I really don't want to do on this property, but over there is fantastic. And then persons who are here, if they need to earn money, can be working over there. So all of this is really blooming into an incredible set of potentialities. It's just amazing what all is happening. Anyway, this is part of my gear. That's my old scaffolding from my old life as a contractor. And that's only part of the scaffolding. You should have seen me bringing, when I brought the scaffolding up, that was one time when I was severely overloaded. I'd set up the scaffolding just like this in the back of my 9-foot trailer that's, you'll see it here in just a minute, with another load of gear on it. And I had to bring my canoe, which is 16 foot, on a 9-foot trailer. And so I had all my scaffolding and other tools with the canoe tied to the top, anchored in the back of the 9-foot trailer. Boy, did that look funny driving down the interstate. Everybody was going, what the heck? And it was kind of squirrely too, because the canoe was like a big sail as I was driving down. Like I said, I've got truck driving experience, so it's not a big deal, but I was able to pull that off. These rain barrels that you see here, they've got a lot of my tools, like reciprocating saws and sawzalls and all various types of tools that we're going to need on this project. Stuff that I've been doing my construction with for years. So we got tons and tons and tons of tools. Notice this is, on the inside here, you'll see the black rain barrel and the water that's in it. This is how I collect my water so that I can, wash my clothes, wash my body, and wash my pots and pans. Oh, my bicycle's hiding back there because I haven't had the chance to ride it. Got a tiller here, all kinds of other gear. James is already starting to pull windows and doors for cob houses. These sliding glass doors that you see here will be thermal panes for the cob structures and aimed towards the south so that the heat can come in and warm the inside of the cob structures during the day when it's so cold. Like this morning, it's probably about 20 degrees out here. Let's see if we still got any ice. Yeah, all the ice is melting, but yeah, there's, it gets pretty cold here in the evenings. Such a difference from the Gulf Coast and having the geothermal in my family home down there. It's a totally different ball game. There you wake up and it could be storming outside. You don't even know it's cold because the inside temperature. I've got tons of LED light bulbs sitting in my tent. And once we start moving everything out of the Connex up here, that tent's going to be dropped down. It's catching a little bit too much ultraviolet rays for what's going on. Got my concrete mixer up under here. I know you can't tell that, but we've also located barrels of magnesium oxide for $190. I think James said it was 55-gallon drum for $190. And between that and phosphate or chicken poop, along with the clay which we have on property, and wood chips. You see over there under that green tarp is a very heavy-duty wood chipper, Troy-built wood chipper, and you see the pile of limbs behind it. I save all those limbs so that we can chip that up, and then you've got 1 part magnesium oxide, 2 parts of phosphate or chicken poop, and about 6 or 8 parts of clay with wood chips in there, and you make your own concrete. The same types of concrete that they built the aqueducts with are used in ancient Egypt. And this is a breathable concrete that doesn't zap your energy from your body, or batteries for that matter. And you know how Portland cement, you can set a battery on Portland cement and it drains the energy. It does the same thing to us. Well, all Portland cement came in about about World War I. But your ancient magnesium oxide cements, they're 5, 6, 8,000 years old. They've been around for a long time. And they're breathable, and they don't zap your energy. And actually, magnesium phosphate cements that we'll be using in our aquaponics staircase structures, the phosphate in there, along with the magnesium oxide, it becomes a fertilizer for the plants, the aquaponic plants that are within it. So it works out hand in hand. And have my concrete mixer. This type of tubing right here at the top of our cob walls inside the structures, we'll be doing a lot of geothermal convection heat, because I'm going to be building my own wood stoves, because I want them to do certain things that I can't get wood stoves to do. And as a steel worker, it's not a big deal for me to build my own. But it'll be like an envelope wood stove. James is into gasification, and if we can figure out how to put gasification in the same unit, what we'll do is with the heat that will be gathered from that envelope between the main steel stove and another steel structure on the outside of it, or it could be a cob structure on the outside of it, we'll use computer blower fans, because they use very little electricity, and blow that air through tubes, plastic tubes like so, and that'll heat in the wintertime our structures. We'll heat water too. It'll heat our greenhouses and hothouses and things. And the ground temperature geothermally here is 55 degrees constant, and so we'll do the same thing with pipes laid up underground below the 3-foot level in the summertime for cooling everything. And by being able to cool things like that, and even cool the water that will be going into our aquaponics, not only our living structures, but the water that's going into our aquaponics, by being able to cool it, then we can grow wintertime plants in the summertime here, because it's all about temperature. It's not necessarily about the sun. It's about temperature a lot of times. And when things get too hot, like growing lettuces in Florida, we had to use shade cloth, but the ground temperature would get too hot, and by it's being too hot for the roots of the plants, then we couldn't grow the plants. But if you can cool the roots of the plants off by doing cooled water aquaponics, and you can use shade cloth, then you can grow wintertime vegetables here in the summertime. So anyway, really cool ideas. Like I said, this is the big wood chipper that we'll be using for to grind all our wood chips of everything that gets down. I'm still in the process of clearing out here, and it's looking like it's going to take me a year or two to get that done. I'm just kind of over anxious sometimes and think I can take it all on real quick. And here's my truck with the trailer. This is the last load. So when I came in and got the messages yesterday, everybody's like, well, where are you? What you doing? And I was just making a load. This one has got the 3D printers and some of my mechanicking tools, and got a lot of my spiritual books. Got my iron worker on. Got us a garbage can, as we need something up here. I had all kinds of stuff that I've still got to get rid of. A lot of people know I used to be an instinct shooter, and still am. I don't guess I could ever get rid of that, but I'm kind of like a quick draw guru. And I got about 10,000 rounds of ammunition I still haven't gotten rid of that I'm going to have to do something with. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with all that yet. I sold off all my guns and all that sort of stuff last spring, when I started getting the messages, just get rid of all of it. And that's what's financed this project so far. And it's given me the ability to make the purchase of the shipping containers. And that with other donations that are coming through is providing the gas to make each one of these runs that I'm making. Go get the gear that we need to do this project. Hang on a second, I'm gonna set you down. I moved the truck in here. It's got my lathe in it. That was a real feat. This is James's truck. I didn't have anything big enough to pull my lathe. That trailer right there, it's rated about 1,200 pounds. My lathe's about 2,500 to 3,000 pounds. What I'm carrying on this trailer right now, with an iron worker that's buried under there, I'm running probably about 2,200 pounds. And I'm severely overweighted, and to drive 500 miles with that kind of weight, not knowing, in my little bitty Nissan pickup truck, not knowing if I'm have any issues, that it takes all of my skills to be able to do that. Just like getting this truck in here, that was quite a feat. If you look at the actual mirrors, I had to crawl out the driver's window when I drove it in here the other day. But when you look at the mirrors of the truck, you'll see there's not much space in there. And then you can see my lathe in back. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that's my gearhead bench lathe. It's back there. And that's what we've got to do today. We're gonna, you see the tie downs up top? They're 5/8 inch welded rod. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take straps and then hook them side to side. Several straps, probably at 3 different points right there per side, 6 different hold downs, and then put a 6x6, because I was using a 4x4 treated wood, and it can't, a 4x4 cannot support the weight of this lathe. This lathe, with the frame that I welded, built for this thing, this lathe is probably running around the 3,000 pound limit in the back of this truck. This is a heavy duty, extra long Ford pickup truck, and I've got it overweighted. and to have the equipment movers come and load this from where it was, get it up here and into this shop, it would have been too much financially, and they'd have had to bring their heavy equipment with them. So, you know, I do things in my way. And it's not always the conventional way. You should have seen how I loaded this lathe into the truck, because, and I crushed my 1,200 pound furniture dollies that I was using, that I jacked the lathe up onto, and was moving it outside the storage unit. Me and James's son, Kyle's probably about 14 years old, and he took off a day to go to the coast with me and make that run. But how I did it was I took cinder blocks, 57 cinder blocks, 56 cinder blocks that I put into 4 different piers, and I had them wider than the outside of this truck, 44 as I look down, and we jacked the lathe up cinder block by cinder block, and I would add a new cinder block in and a new cinder block in, and then jack the other side of the lathe up, new cinder block, until I could drive the truck up under, between the cinder blocks, under the lathe, that I could lower the lathe into the back of the truck. That was a trip. And then I had to drive it 500 miles to get it here, and so today we're getting it out of here. As I said before, right now, and it began at 1st of January, the gas prices went down, and what before would have taken, well, it would have taken me many thousands of dollars extra to do all this if the gas prices had not come down. And just in this past week, they've gone back up 30 cents a gallon, and I don't know where it's going. It could go back up to $2.75. The cartels are controlling all that. They're going to do what they will, but I needed the gas prices to come down, and that happened. And so right now, to all my beautiful friends who are wondering what I'm up to, I'm playing beat the clock on getting all my gear up here. And this weekend, this Saturday is my mother's 73rd birthday, and I haven't been around her the past 5 years for her birthdays, and so I'm gonna get this lathe and all the tools loaded up into the Connex and head back down to the coast for another load. I've probably got 3 more loads, and then it'll be done. I'll have all the gear up here, and we can focus on getting the second Connex into here and getting solar panels set up. We need to get cable into here somehow. I don't know whether it's going to be hardwired on these old telephone lines, because the telephone lines that you see here that my father had installed, they're coming from about a mile away, and it's all through the woods and swampland down there that they brought the trucks in to put the telephone lines in. And as you see here, since he passed in 1998, and there's been no electricity here since, all the trees have grown all the way up in there, and I don't know if the cable companies can come back in here and restring a line, or would that be even profitable for them to do that. Whereas if I do clear out, since we've got an easement under the power lines from here to there, I can come back in with the ditch witch, which I've already got to have, because, you know, when we get the next shipping container in here, right up here, we've got to have, and it's going to be sitting parallel to this one, and we're going to build a little compound for the animals so that the panthers and bears and the coyotes don't get my chickens and goats like what's already happened here. At that time, right along the side of the road going back down to the well and the septic, I'm gonna go ahead and lay in the pipes so that we can have water and toiletries up here, and this being the highest part of the property, and that being where we did ceremony, Sandra Walter. And there's that ancient live oak that you see back there that I was talking about in that video. By having our water tank positioned higher and on top of the connexes, this being the highest place on the property, then we can feed water to any of the other structures here on the property. And that would be really, really cool. And so anyway, one of the next things, once I finally get all the tooling up here, I've got to get the next Connex in and then start building cob structures. We're gonna have to put an 8-foot wall around here so that coyotes can't get in, panthers can't get in, bears can't get in to get the chickens at night. And then I'll build all kinds of other little cob roosting structures and stuff all over the property. We're going to have all different types of chickens. By the way, Sandra, there was an alpaca for free in this area just last week as James was looking on Craigslist, and I would have said get it, except I'm not here full time yet because I'm still moving everything up, and we already know what happens when I leave goats roaming on their own around here. They become fodder for some other critters. But anyway, we're gonna have to get I have to get my tractor up here from Jackson too. I've got a tractor for bush hogging and that can pull a sled or some type of wagon I build that we can bring clay back and forth. But I'm gonna try to find another tractor, a bobcat. Bobcat preferably with an excavator on the rear end. That would attract bobcat with an excavator on the rear end. That would make a whole lot more sense for this situation. And at that point, I'm gonna drain this pond. And if you notice all the clay in here. This is some really quality clay. And so for making our own pottery, making our own cob structures, this is ideal. My big lathe back there, I'll make potting wheels and stuff out of that, build them myself. We don't have to purchase them from anybody else. The whole idea here is to do as much of it with resources from right here as we can. And tops and bottoms of the wheels, we've got huge trees that I can cut and mill to make the actual tabletop or the push wheel at the bottom. We can set them up electrically. That's not a problem. And so this is going to be a contained off-grid community and research center, and this is going to be so cool. But anyway, yep, we want to drain this lake right here, and Trish will, those trees on the other side, we need to have a damn good architect that can design the tree house structures and make them look good and everything else, and you're the person that can do this. Tinkerbell. Bring your kids, bring your guy friend. I have no problem with it. Anyway, we've got everything that we need here, and what we're looking at is we want to drain this, dig it out, using it for the cob and aquaponics structures that we've got, and at the same time we're deepening this area, and then we want to build an island out in the center that's going to be bridged from various sides, and this becomes a swimming hole as well as a place where we've got a pavilion in the island, and just make it all look, I mean, just really, really cool and usable also. And as I said before, around the sides of this, we want to have step-down aquaponics tables that's pulling water from this pond to feed all the plants. And so that's where we're going, and it's really cool. And I invite y'all, including my friends from out of country, Lucas, Malene LaFont, all you guys. You know, if you have a calling to come participate, come on. We have been in touch with the code enforcement and the building department here, and the code inspector asked me if I was going to the Dead show in Chicago here in a couple of months. He is. Actually, he's sent in his money for his tickets. I don't know if he's going to be able to get tickets. My youngest brother, Guy, who's a professional musician, said there was 60,000 people applied for tickets in a place that's only going to have like 10,000 people be able to get in, or something like that. I don't know how that, you know, I don't keep up with all that, but he heard the story about the code inspector asking me if I was going. And so you can see what kind of code inspectors we've got here, and everybody's behind the project, including the state architect, Tennessee state architects. So we've got the green lights, we've got the go-ahead. I'm getting the tools moved in, and all the persons who feel that they need to be a part of the project start getting in touch with James, or if you get in touch with me, it might be a while before I can respond, but it's happening, and the project's expanding. Like I said, we've got the on-grid 35 acres. This is 47 here. The on-grid 35 acres is going to be literally less than a mile away. And that's going to be a place where people can actually make money. This place will be a money maker, but persons coming to teach here, they'll be able to make money from classes, but a lot of the money will go back into the building of this area, the tools and other things that we need to be able to, the expenses we need to keep the projects going. That one's going to be a little bit more commercial based, the 35 acres over there, and but they're going to be hand in hand. That's what I got to do today. Get all that stuff off the trailer and get that truck and lathe out of there. And then I got to turn around and go back to the coast. Anyway, that is how the setup's going to be. We're going to have this one off grid. This one's going to be the place that we can do ceremony. And by the way, we can do concerts here. I had a friend of mine. Yep. He's telling me I got 14 cents remaining. Rochelle Harper, thanks for your DVD, your CD, and it's pretty good music. We've got a place here where we can have concerts, and even the code enforcement told me how to pull that off. And they're farm harvest or farm planting festivals that we're doing here, and that's how we'll apply for our permits. And actually, we don't even have to have permits when we do it that way. We just let the sheriff's department know that we're going to have festivals here, and we got all the parking up front. And that keeps this area sacred. We'll build a sweat up here. We'll build a medicine wheel. We'll have all our cob structures for like little camps, places for people to come in and out. We'll have food. We'll have all our research and development centers, which is what these connexes are all about. And so that's the dream, and the dream's coming in. And I just got a message saying that's the end of the battery, and we're at 57 minutes into the video. And so so I don't lose the video, I'm gonna say bye for now. Love you all. This is why you hadn't seen me. I'm moving very, very fast, and I'm pulling a train. Until next time, bye for now.